so I apologize about that. It took me a while before I could get before I could get everything straightened out. So okay, I have got YouTube going. It looks like. Yeah, so YouTube is up and running. I've got Twitch up and running. Now I'm gonna go in and get Rumble going. So I'm going through each of them separately. It makes this gets really complicated because now it makes the whole uh, console a bit more. There's a lot more that I have to do, basically. So, but I'm getting it set up. Okay, gaming with Infamous on Rumble. Okay. And with this, I have to do everything manually each time, so that reminds me I still have to get Odyssey up and running too, which also causes issues because it has to verify the live stream and it takes a little while, but maybe I can get it done before the upcoming hour and have it ready to go. So I'm starting Rumble now. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had issues here lately with even X. So gaming with Infamous. Live stream gaming underscore with underscore Infamous underscore 50. 10 I think is what the number is. Well, it's the 8th episode for this year, so we have it. Now I need to put a cool gaming photo up for it. Yeah, if you guys ever get a chance, man, go check the streaming functions for Odyssey out. It's actually pretty cool. I can, like, say, if I record a live stream while I'm streaming, and I mess up on the live stream on Odyssey, I can actually go in and put the recorded video in its place to take care of that. So that's kind of cool. It's a pretty interesting concept. Live stream podcast. PC gaming. And gamers. And gaming. There we go. Taglines. And what happened to all that cool AI that YouTube was talking about? Like, all I'd have to say is subscribe, and it would be put on there, that kind of stuff. It's like all that kind of stuff they haven't done any of that yet that I've seen so far. So, alright. Odyssey. Odyssey should be done here in a minute, but I have to still go in and do X, which I held off on because it's easier for it's easier to just get it going, you know what I mean? So I can just get this in here. Alright, so and now I start the stream, see if it works. Test it out, find out how everything's working on it. As a matter of fact, I need to go in and do the same thing with Rumble until this pops up. Yeah, okay, the audio is working out just great. So now oh, there we go. X sounds good. I can start the broadcast or create the broadcast and then post it. Live stream. This sounds good. Gaming with Infamous. So we are up and ready to go. There's a post on X. Odyssey looks like it is ready to go. All I gotta do is hit start. And we are good to go. Okay, so the call on Skype ended, and there we go. We got audio is good on Odyssey, so we're good. Yeah, so everything's good. We got the audio and everything going on all of them. I did the tests. So hello. I got everything set up and ready to go. It's live streaming right now, so I haven't started the show yet, but I wanted to let you guys know we are live streaming. Because idiot frickin' Angel came in here one day, and me and Mark and Tan were doing an episode of Mine's Roundtable, and he didn't understand that he came in the middle of it, and he swears up and down to this day that I secretly recorded him. You know. Oh yeah, he's a monster. He's everybody calls me Satan, but he is Satan reincarnated, dude. Just horrible. Everybody. Yeah. I don't. I don't think he would want to. I don't think he would want to. I don't think he'd want to. I think you'd probably scare him, be honest with you. Because I wouldn't want to get you all riled up, dude. It was like, first of all, I couldn't stop you from, like, getting mad and just saying shitloads of stuff. You know what I mean? No, I didn't. Well, I was planning on doing Jaffe's Secret Santa Claus thing on there, like we did last year, but mhm, yeah. Hey, I wanted to say something. Yeah. I did want to mention too. Did you catch that I put that footage you let me use into Murder Time or Fun Time Murder Time Fun Time? Whatever. It's pretty. I think I think I did a pretty good job of it because like when the footage that you had where the elevator was going up, I had that in there in clips and well that one too was in there. That was cool. But I'm talking about like the old footage that you had where you were showing where you guys went to that that like that well it was kind of like a place like a Disney World type thing, you know what I mean? But it had the escalator elevator that went up into the air when you was a kid. Yeah, yeah. I used some of that footage because it was cool. It had like the old scenes, you know, like you were actually using. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, I added that in there because that was cool footage. I mean, you were right on with that. I thought it was yours. I bet. Well, the '70s. I was just like a little kid. You got to be around my age though. I'm in my '50s, or I'm 51. Yeah. I wish they did. I would use it. I would use a fake ID quick as shit, dude. I would have, I would actually, I should probably go out and just get a fake ID. Just for the hell of it. And then, like, put a 26-year-old dude's face on it, you know what I mean? I think that would be so fucking cool, dude. You know what I mean? I go in there with a beard all the way down to my freaking belly button and just hand him a like a fake ID with like this cool, good-looking dude with black hair and shit. Come on, you don't think that would be cool? It's just an idea. Fuck it. I'm just not gonna do it. Thanks, Dave. You just, it's over. I can't do it now because I don't want to look like a moron. Shit. I'll be back. I'm gonna get me some coffee and smoke the cigarette like normal. And we are on Twitch and YouTube, and we're on Rumble as well as Odyssey and X. So we are good to go. I actually put the vertical back up on OBS. I don't know if you guys caught that in the chat or not, but right. Well, I mean, it's good that you're if you want to talk about gaming, man, that'd be cool, like and everything, cause that's a part of it. No, I'm infamous. You see, my gaming name is Infamous. I'm Infamous OG 1973. Yo, what's up? Hardcore parkour. Uh, yeah, you Okay, okay. Is my audio good? Okay. Hmm. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. Let me actually get the show started. I'll hit record and we'll get it started, and you guys can continue with your conversation. Okay. I gotta do like a cheesy introduction and stuff like that, and so and and then we can go right into it. Um, I came in half into at the end of it, so freaking Mark, I'll turn it over to you and let you tell it what you guys were discussing, okay? So here we go. I'll do my countdown and we'll get it going. Three, two, one, now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Gaming with Infamous. Today we have a special guest. It's Dave Kelso, and we have talking points that we do want to discuss, but it's very rare that we get a chance to have Dave come onto the show with us. So, with that being said, I wanted to kind of let Mark explain to you guys exactly what they're talking about at the moment, because, well, I was setting up and getting everything. I had to step away for a smoke and then some coffee, and they were in a conversation that I just got half of it about. So with that, Mark, go ahead and tell us what you guys are discussing. Mm-hmm. Well, when you guys were talking about ARM though, now you're talking about ARM Holdings and ARM software and stuff like that, right? Yeah, for for CPUs, semiconductors and stuff like that. And no, they first started out in Acorn, right? Acorn Archimedes. Yeah. Now see this goes into what we were talking about last week too. Like you guys are talking like these people are reverse engineering and stuff, and a lot of that technology for gaming comes straight out of DARPA. You know, Magnavox was notorious for it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They are British. You are, well, what was it? What was the name of that company that we were talking about that was associated with Magnavox back then? And they were actually subsidiaries for Canada here in the United States. It, you remember that? Mm-hmm. But don't get me started on Pong, and don't get me started on Pong either. We just covered that last week. So Pong, the game Pong. Remember, we were just talking about that last week. They Pong was developed by the military and installed into these universities so that they could get the response times of students. Yeah. Uh, and then you start talking about ARPANET. You know, yeah, that was me. I was, yeah. I was picking on you the other night. That's probably what it was, and you got curious because remember I was telling you how you had all this stuff freaking like sitting around, and Dave's probably. Oh, okay, okay. Well, Dave's probably the same way. He's probably got shit from way back in 1985 sitting somewhere. I could almost guarantee it. Yeah, it's like you can always tell, man. Like, okay, so you guys were talking about that. Now, one thing we were talking about, Dave, last week was CompuServe. Now, what's your thoughts about CompuServe back in the 1980s and stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. That's the way it should have been. Good for you. Good, good for you. I could imagine Mark. Mark was probably like on his Commodore and shit. Yeah. See, he's only like maybe 2 or 3 years older than you. I watched He Man. The day He Man came out, I'm gonna tell you a story about He Man. This is good too because I was living in Florida and He Man just came out and our television went black, dude. So I had to sit and I had to listen to freaking He-Man without a screen for the first month that it was out. Okay, and I'll tell you one thing. This is the weird part about it is my imagination was better than the actual show. Like I was disappointed when I actually saw the freaking cartoon. You know, but I can still remember that to this day, man. That's He-Man. Mm-hmm. Yep. I was into He-Man and Voltron. Voltron. I mean, the first series. After they went on to Voltron, the second and I think it was just the second ones where they were on that ship. The Lions. Well, they don't let you guys over in England watch good stuff. What the that's what the problem is. Like, you guys probably banned cartoons like back in the 1970s or something. Do you guys even watch cartoons? Thundercats, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the Smurfs was the big one. Yeah, probably because it was like a blonde little female Smurf that was being chased around by a bunch of horny other Smurfs. That's definitely English. That like yeah, yeah, exactly. Like English or Canadian, one of the two. Canadians do. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen freaking shows, man. Like you guys have those BDSM parlors where you can go in and get whipped by women in leather and shit. Go to London, dude. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, let's be serious. Everybody's being a little bit too hard on Gargamel these days. It's like everybody thinks he's like. It's right. I mean, come on now. I mean, if you can love freaking ogres, then you can love freaking Gargamel, right? Okay, now earlier when you guys were talking about Atari, okay, we had this conversation last week, and I think even before that. But like, I was talking about now for me, my personal opinion is like how we were mentioning CompuServe and stuff, and you were talking about the prices. Now, for me personally, I feel like that was intentional because like I believe that there was a movement back then that was trying to throttle internet gaming. You know what I mean? They wanted to make it to where it was harder to set up internet gaming as to going out and buying consoles. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Well, see, we were even talking before, and I mentioned Pong, which was Magnavox. Okay, that was the ringleaders behind that, and they were just saturated with government freaking organizations. And what happened was is Atari came out with their consoles in the 1980s. The 2600 is what we were talking about, and that kind of put a squash on the whole internet gaming. You know what I mean? That when Atari came out, that was pretty much the well, not really. Then when Pac-Man and all that came out, that was the game changer. You know. Hmm. But you have to also understand that in the time to now see computers would have hit off a lot better back then if freaking if it was promoted more, because you got to also remember how many of those women freaking were going to strip malls to learn how to freaking work on MS DOS. You know what I'm saying? It was a big deal back then. It was more popular back in the 80s than what it is today. Today it's a luxury. But Well, my whole point though is the fact that like if they would have had a chance to expand more than what they did, it would have been a big hit because like if you look at like how many people were interested in wanting to make careers out of working on computers or being just being involved with the program. Mhm. Right. And now yeah. Well, honestly, you're wrong there about the Commodores. Now, Commodores were very popular. Yeah, yeah, right. We didn't know about them. Right, exactly. It's kind of ironic that, yeah. Hmm. Zarkonian. Hmm. Well, that's what they say, man. What was that? That right, right. Now, price manipulation. Okay, that's something that's interesting. I find it ironic too that the one thing they were trying to suppress is actually something that was a game changer, and now it's almost impossible for them to freaking do that like they did back in the '80s. Like I remember a VCR going out and getting a VCR would cost you like 400 or 500 bucks back in the '80s, late '80s. But yeah, I do remember that actually. You're right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was so expensive. Well, we got ours that used when we got it, and the first one we had was actually when I moved to Arizona. I was already like 13 years old, so that was like in '86. And what I remember before the regular ones was the betas. You guys even remember the betas with the big old discs? Yeah. Yeah, they tore it up. And see, that's kind of what we're talking about right there. You know, with a lot of this was it's actually um, like I find it ironic that now with the internet as open as what it is, I don't see that kind of stuff being able to take place because like things are a lot cheaper for a reason. You know what I mean? That's when it comes to purchasing today. Now, since you guys got into this whole thing about marketing and everything, there was something that I always found suspicious that I wanted to bring up, which is actually something it kind of gets into what we're supposed to talk about in this episode, okay? And it was the console wars that started back in the 1990s, okay? Do you guys now? I've noticed like with me, I've noticed the difference between Nintendo's games back then versus Sega's games. Now, if you take a look at it, like Sega targeted more of the older audiences with games like Mortal Kombat, and then if you take a look at Nintendo, they were focusing more on the family friendly games. You know what I mean? Like they would always put out games like Legend of Zelda or your Mario Brothers. You know what I'm saying? But don't you find it odd that they kind of collaborated like that? You know, Well, that I mean, for what I've been learning mostly here recently, though, that was kind of like the whole reason behind the crash that we were talking about last week in 1983, or not that, but it was actually it was oversaturate. But like they said that the reason for that though was because of freaking oversaturation, and then there was a decline in game quality, which I can see happening today. Even like you take a look at these games, and they're just freaking horrible. Like there's no storylines, nothing. Money. Yeah. Right. Yes. Exactly. And it kind of goes into what you were saying right there, and then what I was talking about with Sega and Nintendo too. Or what you guys brought out when I was mentioned it, because well, also I'm gonna have to use a famous Mark Edworthy thing, and say that this was mostly all about marketing. It was just marketing. Hmm. Well, see, I disagree on the whole thing about Nintendo having better graphics, because I was an old Mortal Kombat fan, and that's the reason why I didn't mention it when I posted on Skype with the things. I just put the other stuff about the internet gaming on there, but I wanted to mention Mortal Kombat. Now, I was cool with Mortal Kombat, and I was perfect. Yeah, quality. Yeah. And it's like here recently I've been doing project or I was doing projects with a friend of mine, Rapid Glitch, who does Nostalgia Gaming Retro, and he had me doing, like, first he wanted me to do Nuzlocke with Pokemon, and I was fine with that after I did it. But then he started getting into these randomizers. Since you guys were talking about emulators, he was wanting to do randomizers with Pokemon Gen 2, and then we had to do yeah, randomizers is where I call them assets, but it randomizes all the assets, and, st- and I had a horrible experience with that when it comes to Pokemon. And then Legend of Zelda, we actually couldn't finish the Legend of Zelda, the Oculus of Time or whatever it is, because of these randomizers. And now Rapid, he's just like a big old Scottish sissy. You know what I mean? He loves these these Nintendo games, and I hate the Legend of Zelda with a passion. You know, I hate that game, and but I went ahead and I did it, and even though I did it, I still hated that freaking game, dude. I hated it with passion. Now I can handle the Mario's somewhat, but I don't really get into them too much. But out of the two of them, even today, man, I would rather play Mortal Kombat or Street Fighters over Super Mario Brothers any day, you know. And well, I mean, I would still play them, even though I'm not. Well, I'm not. You know, I'm not any better at it anymore than what I used to be. I'd have to catch up on it and stuff. So I mean, with me, it would have to be commercial, or not commercial, but basically, it would have to be just advertisement. You know what I mean? It would have to be marketing and stuff like that that would be involved with it, because personally, I did like the Sega systems better than I did the Nintendo. Uh, but I think in the end, it was the marketing that won out. You know, above everything else, they were able to market their stuff. But I don't know. It just it really does stick out to me on it. And then like the thing that I know is like Midway Games. Now Midway Games is what we were talking about last week, if you remember. It goes all the way back to 1958. You know, um, these guys actually freaking were the ones who came out with games like Mortal Kombat, and I thought that that was pretty interesting to bring up too. Um, they and that's the weird part about it when it comes to Midway. Like they didn't start out just in like video gaming either. They were big on things like, you remember Defender, don't you? In Joust. Just yeah. It just seems really weird to me though that they ended up losing out when it came to Nintendo versus Sega because of how much they. Because I mean, even Joust. You remember Joust when we were kids, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they. I know I kind of got into conspiracy last week, but like you guys also have to remember WMS Industries. Okay, now these guys were the ones that came out with pinball machines and stuff. Okay, so these guys were really involved with Midway, and they were the movers and shakers. And like you know how I was talking about Pong, like they actually branched out and was a part of all that when they developed Pong. And if you take a look at the history with Pong, that's where Magnavox came into the whole game play too, because they were using it previously for another thing they were using in the colleges and playing. They called it ping pong, but college students would sit and play these games so that the military could research their response times. You know, I just find it odd that it all comes all the way up to games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighters and stuff like that. It does seem kind of awkward that was kind of happening, and WMS Industries was all involved in that stuff through Midway. So that's interesting. Warner Brothers is the competitors for Walt Disney, aren't they? But I know that kind of goes off into the whole conspiracy thing again. But it just seems odd, when it's in your face. You know what I mean? How can you look away at that? I do find it kind of odd, especially like most people who are into computers don't realize how far back this goes. You know what I mean? Unless they actually do research on the history of computers and gaming together. Well, well, I mean, even being there at the time, like most people who get on computers and do, that you know, like they were doing all this crazy shit back then. I mean, at the same time as developing computers, they were putting out these games so that the military could like do research and stuff on some stupid college student smoking dope and playing ping pong. I mean that. Well, I mean, it was the 1960s, dude. Seriously, you know what I'm saying? Well, not today. I'm just saying back then. It's really interesting to see the history of all this and how it unfolded. It really is. Like, I still look at some of these games and I'm like, man, it just amazes me that people have no idea what actually took place for them to sit and play that game. Like, you guys remember War Games, the movie, right? Is it? Is it? You know, and we were talking about hackers. Yes, I bet you they were, dude. Have you ever played Pac-Man, dude? I would almost guarantee you Pac-Man was created by the military, dude. Just saying. I mean, have you have to put. Mm-hmm. So so now so now you've opened up a can of whoop ass. This brings us to Doom and Quake. Okay, now we're going to talk about the '90s. This is the stuff you guys like because you were kids and stuff and having fun. Well, yeah, you were in your 20s. You were in your 20s. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. See, like, go ahead. Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I'm still waiting until the time where I start mugging people. I just be able to run out and randomly frickin' steal a car. Bam! Down the road I go. Postal. No. Oh, Crazy Taxi. Yes, I played. Yeah. There was another one too. I remember where it was you were in a car and you couldn't get out of the car unless you had to go and listen to the storyline somewhere. But you drove around the city in this car, and um, that was it. You had to go from one point to the other, and the cops would chase you and stuff like that. I forgot the name of it, but I remember Retro Cheat played it. Um, no, it sounds familiar. I do remember hearing. Let me actually, yeah, yeah. I just Googled it and everything. I remember. Hmm. So I mean, it just for me, I kind of see that stuff as interesting that they did have somewhat some kind of influence on this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they were just in the backgrounds and stuff and not not being a part of it. But then like now all of a sudden years later they're like we were wanting to get rid of it and because it's going to cause violence and stuff. Well, you're the ones that help create this stuff. You know what I mean? That's what really stands out to me. Hmm. They're suggesting that now in the United States, saying that people shouldn't play for more than 2 or 3 hours, and um, Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, you shouldn't be like overly doing it on video games, especially if you're a kid. You know what I mean? But I find suggestions kind of suspicious. Let me just put it that way. Now, yeah. Right. And see that. Mm-hmm. And, well, see, that's that gets you into the area that I like to call linear games, and then freaking games that are open world and stuff like that. Now, like linear games to me is that kind of game like you're talking about, where you had to solve the puzzle to make it to the next level. And there was no shortcuts. There was no way around it. You had to solve this in order, or do this in order to get to this point. And uh-huh. Mhm. Right. Yeah. No, see, I think Donkey Kong is where that, for me personally, I believe that's where it was the game changer for me. Like you couldn't go back like you said, but then like in Donkey Kong Jr., I think it was, where you could pick them up and throw them. He'd start out with you, and then you could pick them up and throw them at people. But you could actually do that. Well, I actually played the old ones too. But like these, for my generation, these were the new ones. These are like retro now to a lot of the younger people. But like I'm talking about like the one where he's actually going around like Sonic the Hedgehog and all them. But hmm, Now, I want to ask you guys about one thing though. What did you guys ever play uh, multi-online role-playing games? Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That did, oh my God! Look, you're starting to sound like Tan. You're starting to sound. Yeah. No. 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 Y- that's a Tan High Tran thing. Him and Rhea are always ambushing me about. Oh, you need to come on and play chess. I'm like, dude, I suck at chess. I suck at it. People will laugh at me. Okay, have you guys ever heard of Ultima Online? Hmm. What about you, Dave? Have you ever played it? Well, I mean, you know that's not like modern online gaming, right? Just I want to make that clear. Okay, just so every because you see we're older than a lot of people that are into gaming these days, so like that's new for us. Yeah. So and I've never played Ultima Online either. I might have to check it out. Now, have you ever played EverQuest? Ooh, wow. Yeah. That's amazing to me because like everybody that I've ever talked to has played that game at least once. So you two are like the first ones I've ever met who hasn't played EverQuest. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not. Hmm. I really didn't like it. Just to be fair, I really didn't like EverQuest. It was like one of those horrible games where you get stuck in the walls, and like any game where you go and you get stuck in a wall or in the side of a mountain, it just pisses me off. I always had a problem with that. And if that happened to me, I might let it slide once if I really like the game. But after that, I'm not playing those games. It just it always irritated me when it did stuff like that. And they said that they've gotten better in the new modern versions, but it's a horrible, horrible game. So now you said you played the offline Ultima. What was your experience with that? Yeah, you was drinking, you was drinking and freaking partying in your underwear with all your buddies is what it was. I know about you college students that freaking go into computer science. You guys are you're rebels. Mm-hmm. I bet you anything that's what he was doing. He was drinking beer and his buddies were like taking dives off the balcony into the swimming pool. Because that's what they did back then. Yeah. Well, I mean, I shouldn't be stereotyping because I keep forgetting that you're in England too. So, because like you guys like always were more civilized than we were here in the United States. Ooh. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the land parties and the social aspect. Okay. Now, the local area networks, the land. Okay, that became a cultural phenomenon according to what I've pulled together. Now, they said that um, uh, enthusiasts gathered to connect their computers and compete in games like StarCraft and Counter Strike. Have you guys played StarCraft or Counter Strike? Strike? Now, StarCraft, I know, has their own actual role playing game, too. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, I've mentioned this on another show, but you didn't want me to be at any kind of role playing game party drinking, okay? Because crazy shit happened. Like, I would be in my underwear acting like a caveman, drunk in a blackout, you know. And any good game master knows that you don't allow people to get drunk while you're a DM, and you don't allow. Well, you can let them do drugs, but they have to be like hallucinogenics. They can't be like pot. You know what I mean? Because people get lazy when they're high on pot. Those are like two general rules: no pot, no alcohol. You can do LSD if you want to, do shrooms and stuff, because that just makes you even cooler. Yeah. And usually it was only dudes that showed up to these parties, so there was no X allowed. Didn't want some freaking straight dude freaking taking X and getting horny over other dudes. You know what I'm saying? That's a no no. Well, Well, I mean, I was always the whole marijuana thing was debatable. You know what I'm saying? Because for me it was because like when you get people, yeah. But but the drinking though, the drinking when you did role playing games, that's a no no. You know what I mean? Because crazy shit happens. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about role playing games though. Role playing games is different. That's not like this. Now you got to admit that. Oh, that's true. And besides, with you, you're like freaking the human calculator. Like, I don't think Pot could. Well, I should call you the human quantum computer then. Like, well, he does that sometimes. Like, he'll right. That's right. And see that's right. But that's why that's I'm glad you did that because you just kind of helped explain what I said there by you being like the human quantum computer. You know what I mean? You're capable of doing that stuff. Eh, Well, let me kind of explain this to you, okay? Whenever I freaking look at millibytes, I think that freaking once it hits one, well, millibytes, megabytes, whatever. When it goes when it goes up, like when a millibyte goes up to freaking a megabyte, but when it hits 1,000, it should be megabyte. You see what I'm saying? No, it should. I'm just telling you the way I feel. It's just the way I feel. It's just the way I feel. Once 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 freaking a gigabyte gets up to 1,000, it should be a terabyte. You see, once we don't need all that extra shit. You know what I mean? All that math. And I know, dude, you're the dude I have to deal with when it comes to time zones. Okay, so I understand completely what's going on in your mind. Because like you've actually gotten me to where I use freaking like time zones and shit, and I never did that before, so I understand it. Yeah, it's true. But now I've mentioned this before, and I don't know if you'd be interested, Dave, or not, but you guys, I've been talking to Naroki and all them about maybe trying to get together freaking an actual tabletop role playing game too. So I guess this would be a perfect time since we're talking about the internet LAN parties and stuff. But if you guys ever want to do that, man, we should get together and kind of plan it out and everything and do something, just to hang out. Well, it'd be a chance for you to do it. Did you hear that, Dave? This same dude that said that freaking the military had nothing to do with gaming. He just said it. His dad. Okay. It, huh? Nothing. That's right. So we actually, I think, have come to a good amount of time. We've made it to an hour and 50 minutes of stream time, and we've got a recording. We've actually got a recording time of an hour and 19 minutes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this. And Dave, if you want to come back, man, you're more than welcome. This is what we do. I've been saying it on a lot of the episodes. We're basically talking about gaming, but as adults. This is an adult conversation. You know what I'm saying? We're not fucking around and doing, talking about like award systems and shit, and how great Pokemon was. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yes, exactly. I can't get any of my gamer buddies to actually watch it on the WLC because we're just too complicated for them. Like they're there to stream their video games and do the WLC, but they don't actually want to think and like have to communicate their thoughts like that. You know what I mean? So I yeah, exactly. Right, and see, I keep putting it on the WLC, which is Watch, Like, and Comment on Home Away from YouTube, and nobody touches it. They're like, "Oh no, that's infamous. He's posting that crazy techno shit again, and that technical stuff can't have anything to do with that, you know." But I like doing this stuff. A guy that I used to watch a podcast for. His name was hardcore or casual hardcore gamer is what he went by, and he used to do a podcast and he stopped doing it. And then I was like, why not just start up my own, and kind of do this kind of a style instead of his, because each person has their own style, and this is the kind of stuff I was always into, and I've had these conversations with you guys too, So we've basically. Hmm. It'll do it for you. Yeah. And see, you guys are just geeking out now. This is like just total nerd shit. Exactly. Mm. Well, with computers, they took away the easiest way of showing a person how to how simple it is for computers, and that was the hard drives. When I first learned about how simple it was to work a computer, a guy I knew that I was working with, he sold me a computer and he said, "Now look, this is how simple it is." And he took a CD and he took it out and he said, "Now watch." He hit the button and the CD came out and he put it in. And he says, "All I have to do is push this in and don't touch it." And then he did that and the computer miraculously just put the CD where it needed to be. It fired the whole computer up and it took you straight to the program that you wanted automatically. And all you had, well, yeah, right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream, and I'd like to thank you guys for being here and stuff. We've done a pretty good job on this part, and next time when we come on here, we'll get a little bit farther into it because I knew this was going to be pretty good, yeah, but I wanted to hold off on this next part because I want to get into how console gaming goes online and talk about that. So that's going to be cool. We'll start talking about the Sega Dreamcast and start talking. Well, I mean, I knew this one was going to be. This one's go- I knew this one was going to be good. So this is where the war begins. You know what I'm saying? And then it starts getting even deeper and deeper because now all of a sudden it goes to freaking PlayStation, and then it goes to Xbox. So it's just from this point on we start talking about really cool stuff. So like you, yeah, And I've found out too that PlayStation actually has a Linux programming too. That's something else. That, well, be 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 prepared to talk about that because we can talk about that next week. We're gonna we're gonna get into that. That's I really shouldn't have said nothing because I knew it would be hard to keep you quiet, especially when it comes to that. I knew you was gonna get excited. I shouldn't have done it. So yeah, no, yeah. So hold off until next week, and we can do this conversation because this is really good. You guys are like firing off. And Dave, if you like I said, come back next week, and we'll start out with that conversation and get it going because it already it yeah. Ne- Well, that was what I was wanting to say too. Give everybody your information so they can figure out how to get in touch with you and where to find you and stuff like that. All right. And Mark, do you want to tell everybody yours? All all right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream, and we will be back next week. I hope you guys enjoyed.